over here, there is the Bedford Falls garage. Look at this. And then over on this side is what I believe they call the Bedford Falls Bridge here in Seneca Falls. So we're going to go up and walk and look at the bridge. This town claims to be the inspiration for It's a Wonderful Life. And there's no other town arguing with them about it. During his lifetime, Frank Capra never said that this town inspired him. But since he's passed away in the 90s, this town has always said that they own the mantle of being the inspiration for Bedford Falls. They have a bridge. They have a downtown that sort of looks like Bedford Falls. There are a few other things that make sense about it. In the movie, you remember the bank examiner comes in. He's going to look at the books. And in that scene, he says he's got to go down to Elmira to be with his family. Elmira's south of here, you know, and not far. We're in New York State. There's also a mention of Rochester in the movie. So it's likely that the movie takes place in New York State. And this seems like a very good place for it to be. Carolyn Grimes, who played Zuzu in the movie, she said when she came here, she felt like this was Bedford Falls. Now, I'm told that the center of town used to have a median in the middle, just like in the movie. It doesn't anymore. So the main street doesn't have that. But we're going to go to the It's a Wonderful Life Museum. We'll take a look up on the bridge. And we'll see a little bit of this town. There's the Seneca Knitting Mills. Right here as we approach the bridge. Looks like there's some people doing some work up there. And it looks like there's little bells. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. The village of Seneca Falls may have inspired the hometown look of It's a Wonderful Life. Capra visited in the mid-40s at the time of the screenplay, and there's many similarities, among them this bridge built 1915. Very nice. Now this plaque I wanted to tell you about. Antonio Varacalli. He was a young man, he was 19 years old, and he jumped into the water here to save a young lady who was drowning, and he saved her, but unfortunately he did not survive. I read online that I think his sister's granddaughter met up with a relative of the young lady he had saved. Years later in the town, they do a whole day for him. I think they have like a festival to honor and celebrate him. A life that was cut too short. Look at the bells up here, light up at night. Definitely get the feeling of It's a Wonderful Life with this bridge, though. It does look like the one they used in the movie. I know a lot of other bridges in the world do look like this, but standing up on here, you think about when he was up here and then went into the water and he gets saved, and they go into the guardhouse where the guy's chewing tobacco, which I always thought was so funny, and then he falls out of his chair, learning about Mark Twain writing a new book and the other things that happen in there. Let's take a look on the other side and then we'll head into the town. It's a little painting of the waterfall there on the corner of Bridge Street and Canal Street. But the street over here is named for Clarence. Attaboy, Clarence. This town has another claim to fame, by the way. The National Women's Hall of Fame is here. Hopefully we'll see some placards about it, but the movement to give women more rights happened in this town. There's a sculpture trail here right on this side of the bridge. So we'll walk down a little bit, take a look at this, and then we'll walk up the bridge again. Protector of the trail, the first female police officer in Seneca Falls, Suzanne Hawker. I don't know who this is supposed to be. It looks like Hillary Clinton. 1920, 184. Women's Rights, 150th anniversary. First female mayor of this village. This says Amelia Bloomer. I appreciate anyone that can style a hat like that. Here's how the Finger Lakes area, which is where we are, was carved in by glaciers, and then they show a little bit of history. I mean, this almost looks like this could be where George was pulled into with Clarence and the guy was chewing tobacco. So I mentioned Clarence Street. Right across it says Angel Avenue. I passed by the museum on the way here, but I figured I'd go here first because the skies are kind of dark and it's looked like it's gonna rain for about the last hour driving up here, so not totally sure. This is, by the way, just a little bit past the Pennsylvania-New York border. All right, we'll take our last look at the bridge. We'll go into town, which is this way. There is a Martini's bar here. We serve real drinks to men who want to get drunk fast. I love it. I might have to go in there and get one. Go in there, ask for the mulled wine or a rum punch. Okay, there's Carolyn Grimes, Zuzu. Janie, these are all the Bailey kids. And then Violet, so she would be there. She was the blonde lady when they were kids that was talking to him at the bar. And then there's young Tommy Bailey. Look at this. All right, I didn't know this. Apparently the only things left of original props, these are Jimmy Stewart's hands, by the way, from Planet Hollywood. The only thing left are a couple set of earrings, which we're gonna see, and then some of the cars that were featured in the movie. So there's the chiclet box. Here's some handprints that were done for this town, and there's the National Geographic Society. So these earrings worn by, I think her name is Gloria Graham, who played Violet Beauregard, those are original prop earrings, and that's it. That's the only non-car prop that exists, and they're right here in the museum. Man, I love this movie. All right, so you remember this from the movie? I wish I had $1 million. Hot dog. It didn't light up. I love this. Over here, they have a whole thing about Frank Capra. There he is. Some letters signed by him. They have a lot of stuff in this museum signed by many of the people that made the movie. I like this foreign poster for It's a Wonderful Life. And George lassoing the moon. They've got something in the back. I'm going to show it to you in a bit about that. But I love all this. So here we go. Frank Capra, one of the legendary filmmakers. And there's Bedford Falls. Does look a bit like the main street I drove in to get here. Here's the cast picnic. You can see Martini in the back. You can see all the different cast members. Oh my goodness, I love all this. Jimmy Stewart's handwriting, his signature there. You're now in Bedford Falls, the oldest person to ever visit the museum at 99, and then again at 100. Here is an Emmy that was won for a documentary about this museum, which I really think is cool that that's on display here, as well as this shirt that was owned by one of the cast members. I just love all of the different things that they have here. Look at that. That looks just like the accordion that when Bert and Ernie were serenading them, that's the accordion that was being used. This building they're in used to be a bank. That's why we have a vault. Okay, so this barber shop, this was the guy who claimed that he cut Frank Capra's hair in Seneca Falls. This is the reason that Seneca Falls has this claim to fame and claims to be part of the It's a Wonderful Life lore. You may remember this sign from the movie, as well as this portrait of Dad that hangs in the bank when George has the black armband. All right, I remember so clearly this creepy Santa mask. One of the kids is wearing it. At the end, she's playing the piano. George is like, why do we have to have so many children? I don't remember this bird. Now, Tommy, Uncle Billy had a bird, and it was not that, though. It was like a raven. It's signed by Zuzu. And look at this, Tom Sawyer. So that is a replica of the copy that is in the movie that Clarence has. I think it was a prop, but man, I think that's super cool to see. It is close enough to Christmas time that it feels normal to see this. Oh, a genuine loving cup. Look at this. The prop outfits that they would have worn. And George Bailey's suitcase. I want a big one. I want one with my name on it right here. Oh man, Jimmy Stewart. There's the Chiclets box. We saw that at the front. Saturday Evening Post. Now this, I always like Old Man Gower, H.B. Warner, who played Jesus in The King of Kings, the silent movie that opened Grauman's Chinese Theater, and he put something bad in that. Your son has diphtheria. Stop. I still remember this scene is so wonderful. They do have a replica of this cash register. What they did was get a lot of props that look like the props in the movie because, again, there's only a couple props left, and most of them are cars, and the other ones are earrings that are right here. A beautiful, nice museum in a small town. Nice pictures here. There you can see that creepy Santa mask. I guess that was a thing back then. Kids would dress up with a Santa mask around Christmas. Seems like a lot of fun. We don't get enough Santa masks for kids today. All right, I mentioned that they had George lassoing the moon. Look at this, giant, full-sized. I mean, it's not as big as the moon, but as big as, 10 times bigger than my head. I like this doll. They have lots of cool things owned by different people that worked on the movie, so the things that aren't exactly props, like look at this, these little books. So these were called monologue books, or monologue wallets, and you may remember this scene. He goes, I got something for you, and he gives the watch to the kids. He was with the bank examiner. He's there to take George to jail. And you remember her, I'll save this, except I have a husband. And she said, I'd listen, I'd pay more attention if you guys ever talked about something important. So she recorded a record. She's in the Women's Hall of Fame here in Seneca Falls, which I think is really great. So that is the actress who gave the doll that we just saw to her. All right, George Bailey's suitcase. This is not the original, but man, it looks exactly like it did in the movie. And boy, it's cool to see that. I love it. So we got information here about Zuzu, Carolyn Grimes. There, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And that was her seat back 2012. She went to the Academy Awards. They had a special thing for It's a Wonderful Life. And Ivory Snow, we had ivory flakes, which were actually soap, but they were used as snow. You can see here on the set of the movie, that's how they did it. And yeah, again, here's the guy who claimed to have cut Frank Capra's hair. There's a Dolly Madison ad. I always remember the Ask Dad, He Knows. Oh man, when he says, stop playing the piano. why do we have so many kids? And he picks up the piece off the top of the banister and throws it. He's at the end of his rope. Oh, what a beautiful movie. Okay, Zuzu. The little girl called Zuzu, and there we see Zuzu ginger snaps. So this was a type of cookie, and that's why in the movie you hear him say, Zuzu, my little ginger snap. I love this. You could get your own little Christmas village. And we've got all the different buildings. Got the town theater. Here's the bridge. You're now in Bedford Falls. And I'll tell you, it looks like the one we saw earlier. And here, Mr. Potter's thing that was driving him around, his covered wagon. And then look at this building. It's right here on this picture here with George. I love this, Lego. In Lego, they've got It's a Wonderful Life here. Very exciting. Exciting to see all of this stuff. Good museum. But look at this. This is great.
It's recording right now. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I love that they have this stuff.
Yeah, I do too. I love this.
Here's the stuff from the pharmacy. And then over here, when George is making the ice cream with, you know, hey, you don't like coconut? Don't you know where it comes from? Brainless? This was the gift shop, which they said they have some of the stuff in here because they were in a different building. They're now remodeling that building, so now they have two buildings temporarily. And so, very nice. Circa 1918. Here's Martini's. Entrance is over on State Street, which is right this way. This building says Opera House Block. I know when you go to a lot of historic areas, there's always an opera house. Opera houses, I think, at one point in time were as common as I guess movie theaters would be today. I'm looking to see if they have a marker to designate what year this was built, but I don't see one. It's a Coast Guard flag, Marine Corps flag over here. Over here, Jake from State Farm. It's the barber shop. The old barber chair there in the corner. You can hear the bells from the church in the background. Mural right along here. Almost like her hair is like the waterfall, and birthplace of women's rights, I believe is what they say here. Women's Rights National Park is over there. It's right around where the bridge is, right that way. Glad I got to visit here close to Christmas. I know we haven't gotten to Thanksgiving yet, but it's nice to see the decorations. Here's the town's clock from Robinette Jewelers. It is correct, and I was correct about this weather because it is starting to rain just a tiny bit. Martini's wasn't open, and neither is this bar. They don't start drinking this early here, but I love the backs on these chairs. This store here selling personalized Scrabble art. They got one here. You can see it's got Bert, Zuzu and Violet, Uncle Billy, Clarence, Old Man Gower, Hee Haw, right here. Right next to the Seneca Falls Museum and Visitor Center. There's a plaque here about It's a Wonderful Life and about how it became connected to this town. You can see how this town was in the Ice Age and the Stone Age. They have a nice bunch of exhibits here. This one's about the women's rights movement, which again was spearheaded right here. Nice statue about that. And a lot of nice little exhibits tracing the history of this town. We're going to look at these backwards, but they have these little dioramas to show what the town looked like in various decades and eras. And all the changes that have come about over the years as this town has become bigger and more industrial. We have these bells. We are allowed to ring them, but I am not going to. I've rung some bells already today. Enough angels have gotten their wings. But, man, what a cool town. These bells were made here, and we can actually see, here's another diorama, but if we look out the window here, I can tell you, we can see this town. We can see the bridge. Look at this. Very different. The time goes by, we build more, the town gets more beautiful. Let's take a look here. That's the bridge. We were on there just a little while ago. Well, that'll bring this one to a close. Tomorrow, I'll be in Elmira, just like the bank examiner that had to get from Bedford Falls to Elmira. I've got to do the same, so I will see you back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Going to be in Elmira and Horseheads, which are two towns next to each other, and going to be going to Twin Tiers Comic-Con. So I'm going to be a guest there, going to be doing a couple panels with some different celebrities and pro wrestlers, which maybe I'll be able to show you some of that. Also, I'll show you a little bit around the town and see some other stuff. So come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And right now there's a box here, a box over here. You can choose either one. So I'm in both. Right here in Seneca Falls. Very neat to be here. Gets me in the mood for Christmas. Come back tomorrow, 2 o'clock.